To begin with then, the superiority of supplicating to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In short, Allah loves nothing more when His servant sits on the musalla in the state of sajda or with his hands in the air, praying and supplicating to Him. Allah absolutely adores that. He wants His servant to do that all of the time. And certainly you will see that there is a dua for each and every moment in our lives, and that is an indication of how much Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves it when we supplicate to Him. Our Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, لَيْسَ شَيْءٌ أَكْرَمَ عَلَى اللَّهِ مِنَ الدُّعَاءِ. That in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala there is nothing more noble than praying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you pray to Him and you say Ameen at the end of a dua, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves that. Allah has said that you can pray to me. Allah has said I'm going to answer you as well. Allah has opened up a door of rahmah for you. So our Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam linked the whole concept of dua closely with the rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Everybody wants Allah's mercy. Everybody wants Allah's mercy to descend upon them. The way to open up that gate of mercy, in the words of our Prophet alayhi salatu wa salam, is by supplicating to Him. If Allah has given you an opportunity to pray to Him, then in reality what you are doing then is that you are allowing the rahmah and the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to descend upon you. So strong is dua that our Prophet alayhi salatu wa salam said, and we have all experiences of this, that it can change the unchangeable. It can cause the impossible. You know very well that we have a belief in taqdeer in our lives. As Muslims, this is one of the 7 basic beliefs of each and every mu'min, of every believer. You have to believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has already written everything that will occur until the day of judgment in your lives, in everyone's lives. This is our belief in taqdeer. Sometimes we call it qadr. Our Prophet alayhi salatu wa salam said that performing a dua is so strong, that it has so much effect, that it also has the power to change what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has written for a person. That it can totally change your fate. A person perhaps was destined for the fire of hell. By praying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, all that can change in a matter of moments. That a person might have been written in the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that he is going to be ill for the rest of his life, that he is going to suffer from an incurable disease. With a supplication, with a dua, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can change all of that. In the same hadith sharif, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam also said that nothing increases one's life except good actions. We always wish and we always know, again it's the same kind of concept. We have it in our mind that Allah has already written for us a set time, and certainly this is true. And you might sometimes think to yourself, well, how can I extend that? Obviously you do not know this time. But what can I do to ensure that it's extended as much as possible? Sayyiduna Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, perform as many good acts as possible, Allah will extend your life. In the Quran, Allah says, وَأَمَّا مَا يَنْفَعُ النَّاسَ فَيَمْكُسُ فِي الْأَرْضِ. Those things which benefit people, Allah ensures it stays on earth. If you keep benefiting people, if you keep doing virtuous actions, if you keep being good to your neighbors, if you keep teaching people, if you keep telling people good and providing ease for people and service to people, Allah will say, well, He's bringing benefit to people, so I'll keep him on earth. It's a virtuous act, so He'll ensure that you continue on above the earth. As soon as a person cannot bring benefit to humanity, Allah says, well, he's better off beneath the earth then. So as much as possible in your daily lives, try to benefit people. This whole concept of nafa is very, very important in our religion. As long as you are serving humanity, Allah will take calm from you. He will take benefit from you. He will ensure that you have breath in your lungs. But if you feel that you are not benefiting people anymore, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will say, well, I will replace him with someone else then. So but the actual hadith itself, what it is explaining for our purposes, how important and how strong dua is. It can change the unchangeable. What you would think could never change. And certainly in our daily lives we see this happening all of the time, that the du'as of a believer, they certainly do have an effect. Each and every dua has an effect. It is never wasted. No matter how subtle your dua is, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will always ensure that some good has come from it. Never think that my dua has been wasted. or it has not been heard by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And certainly our Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam indicated that. He said that when a person performs a dua to his Lord, then certain things will happen. Number one, either he gets exactly what he wanted. So for example, a person says that, Ya Allah, please ensure that I pass my driving test tomorrow morning. When he prays, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can ensure that can happen. Number two, the other possibility is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not answer that dua in the dunya, but the reward and ajr for it, He will ensure that the believer gets it in the akhirah. So again, it's not wasted, is it? Allah has not neglected the call of His servant. And number three, what our Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, that Allah might not give that person what he asked for, but what He will do, that because he asked and because it was a form of worship, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will wipe away some of his major and minor sins. Again, there is benefit. In a different variation of the same hadith, basically, Sayyiduna Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, he put a condition down in this one. He said, as long as he doesn't pray for something sinful, and as long as he doesn't pray for the severing of family ties, meaning that to say that something which might, a dua which might create tension and friction between families and relatives, as long as he does not make a dua on that, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will either answer his dua, He will ensure that there is a reward in the akhirah, or number three, that He will ensure an equivalent evil is taken away from him. That something evil that he doesn't know about perhaps would afflict him later in life, because he performed that dua, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take that away from him. In all of these things, you must understand that sometimes we ask for things and we think this is better for us, this is better for us. Allah knows better, you don't. And we see that with our children all of the time, don't we? Our children, they are insistent that, please, Mom, Dad, we want these sweets, we want this chocolate, we don't want to have roti tonight, we want chocolate tonight. And they are insistent, and they 100% believe that they are right in this. We as parents say, no, you're not right. Eventually they realize it, don't they? We are still children in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, no matter how old we become. You can sometimes say to yourself that, no Allah, I need that job. No Allah, I need that mortgage for that home. No Allah, I need that rishta. But in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's eyes, He knows better than you. So sometimes you have to succumb to the authority of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Do not sometimes think that Allah has an answer. Allah knows best. Once you have done that dua with sincerity, He will decide whether it is better that you got that mortgage or not. He will decide whether it was better for you to pass that exam or not. Sometimes there is hikmah and wisdom in that being taken away. In fact, subhanallah, and this is a comfort for those people who feel that sometimes their dua is not answered. Sometimes the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not answer the dua of a person is actually a sign and an indication of how close that person is to Allah. It sounds strange, but if a person's dua is not answered by his Lord, that is sometimes a sign that he is closer to Him. In the Risala of Imam Qushayri, Imam Qushayri rahmatullahi alayhi, he mentions a beautiful hadith sharif. He says that when the Prophet ﷺ indicated that when a servant is praying to Allah, and Allah loves that servant, then Allah talks to Sayyidina Jibreel. And what does He say to Sayyidina Jibreel? He says that, please, this dua that my servant is making and asking for X, Y, and Z, don't give it to him yet. Sayyidina Jibreel says that, Ya Allah, why not? He is your beloved servant. Why on earth would you delay giving that hajat to him? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to Sayyidina Jibreel, He said, because I love hearing his voice. I love the way that he is praying with dedication and sincerity to me. I want that to continue. If I give that straight away, then I won't hear that voice anymore. So Allah actually says to Sayyidina Jibreel that I want him to continue to pray to me. That's why I am not going to answer that dua yet. Allah. In the same hadith sharif, Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said that when a servant prays to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Allah is angry with that servant, He is naraz with him, then what does Allah say to Sayyidina Jibreel? He says to Sayyidina Jibreel, he says, please Jibreel, fulfill his need immediately. Answer his dua immediately. Whatever he is asking for him, please just give it to him as soon as possible. Why? Because I hate to hear his voice. So do never think that because my dua has not been answered, that this is actually a sign that I am far from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Rather, it could be an indication that Allah wants to hear your voice. Allah loves your tears. Allah loves it when you fall into sajda in the evenings in the month of Ramadan and you pray sincerely to Him.